Hello once again, Cats. Paul Roper along with head coach Scott Abel. Time for another Coach's Corner presented by Atrium Health. Week 4 of the season. The Cats coming off of a 56-6 win over St. Andrews on Saturday on Hometown Heroes Night. And we'll start off with the offense. 15 different Cats with a rushing attempt during Saturday's win. Leading the way, Aaron Mayone, the Offensive Player of the Week in the PFL after 141 all-purpose yards and 3 touchdowns. A nice breakout game for the sophomore.
Oh, it really is. He's played really well all year, though. You know, I wouldn't call this his breakout game for the mere fact is he made some big plays, Jacksonville State, made some big plays at Barton. And Aaron, you know, had the opportunity to get his feet wet last year, really got some valuable experience, and I think you're seeing that pay off right now.
Cats also had more accolades with Jonathan Hammond receiving Defensive Player of the Week honors after his pick 6. That's the 3rd time he's received that honor.
Yeah, well, Jonathan continues to be just a focal point of the defense and how we've grown, right? And, you know, he always seems to find himself around the football. And, you know, Saturday, you know, they had a screen set up. He did a great job, right? He recognized the screen, dropped back, and was in the throwing lane. And you know, I gave him a hard time because, you know, he had an opportunity like that not too long ago, and it just went through his hands, you know, a year ago. And so he finished this one, walked it in for 6, and just what a great momentum boost that is for our program.
That it is, and he was part of a defense that had 14 TFLs during Saturday night.
Yeah.
Who really stood out to you also on the defensive side of the ball for the Cats?
Well, I think the first name that jumps off is Aaron Warren, right? I thought Aaron had a fantastic game. You know, he was in the backfield. I think he had a sack, had another half TFL on top of the sack, but he was in the backfield all night, you know, and that's great to see for us. You know, Aaron has had a great career in his time here and still young, but seeing him grow, seeing him develop is really special. And then, you know, you can also point to some younger guys, right, as the game got on and we were able to play some depth, right? You know, MJ Hurd, right, got in there in the 4th quarter and seemed to find his way in the backfield all the time, making plays. And it's just great to see. And then seeing guys like Daniel Carter continue to play really solid football, and Jaden Pask and Yusef Thomas. And I thought John Testman had a really good game for us at Mike Backer. So I think, you know, it is what it always is when we're playing solid. There's contribution from a lot of areas, just like we spoke about on offense. You know, you talk about 15 ball carries, registering rushes. I think we end up having 16 or something, 17, including our catches, that touched the football Saturday. So when we're at our best, it involves a lot of people.
It also involves a special teams unit. Caden Banovsky, 8 for 8 on extra points on Saturday. The last of those, a new program record, 110 extra points. That is a remarkable feat for that young man from the community school, Davidson.
Well, it really is. He had a great Saturday for us, not just his extra points, but kicking off for us Saturday, right? You know, it's been one of our points of emphasis. How do we get better? We need to improve on that team. And, you know, Bono's a part of that, right, where he places that football. And he did a fantastic job on that unit as well. But really proud of Bono. It's not always easy being a kicker in any kind of football program, right? You find yourself having to be driven by yourself. Very few programs at our level have kicking specialists as coaches. And so he is that guy. He's driven. He works very hard at it. And he he takes it very seriously. And really grateful for what he's been able to accomplish here, and I'm excited to see what other records he may break.
And there's plenty more on the horizon for him as far as that's concerned. But another thing that was broken on Saturday was the amount of donations for Save a Warrior raised close to 4,000 last year, and you've eclipsed that this year. 4,122 is the final tally. How proud of you for your team for helping spread awareness for that for the fans to get over that goal? It's
exciting for us. You know, we participate in quite a few fundraising events to help a lot of causes throughout the year. This being one of the events, our Save a Warrior. And Jaden Pask had started this initiative for us years back. And seeing it grow the way it's grown is really exciting. I feel certain now as Jaden graduates, one of our younger players will take on this responsibility, take a leadership role, because what a great cause it is, right? We had the opportunity to spend some time with someone particularly who had been impacted by the Save a Warrior program, and hearing their story, seeing the impact it made in their life, I feel just honored that I was able to be one part of it, and our team was able to be a big part of it.
It's certainly a wonderful gesture for the community to donate over $4,100 to Save a Warrior, thanks to the efforts of Jaden Pask and the rest of the Wildcats. And And continue on with another leader in the team, and Lucas Raber. He'll be featured in our player profile this week, the most experienced tight end on the roster. The senior from Greenville, South Carolina. What kind of qualities does he add to the team?
Well, there's not probably a better person in the locker room, right? Let's start right there. Lucas, and from the time he arrived here, he has the character, the driven, the work ethic that you look for every one of your players. And he leads by example, and younger players look up to him, and he's even keel. You talk about consistency, right? You know what you're going to get out of Lucas Raber. Everything he touches and everything he does, whether it's football, right, or whether he's out fishing, right? He's just Mr. Consistency. And what I'm most proud of Lucas is he's had some injuries. He's had a few surgeries in his career, and those can set you back, but he's never let that happen, right? He's fought through them. He played the season last year with a little meniscus tear, had it repaired after the season to get himself back ready for this season. And I'm just grateful for his leadership. I'm grateful for his work ethic. And, man, he's a really talented young man. He's in the best shape of his career right now. And that's hard for a senior, right? They go through injuries. They have rehabs. They have surgeries. And for me to say right now, he's playing as good as he's ever played, in the best shape he's ever played, and playing incredibly athletic for a tight end. And that makes us very dimensional, right? For those who've been watching us, we've used him out in space this year, right? We're flexing him out. We're using him like a wide receiver at times. And that's really a compliment to him and how hard he's worked to put himself in that situation.
Another person on your staff who has really worked hard through the years is Austin Eisenhower, your slots coach, who was featured on Inside the Locker Room last week, and you know him very well. He played for you in Washington Lee. You brought him on your staff. He's from the Mooresville area, having lived here since his high school days. What does he add to your staff?
Well, when it starts for us in our staff, we talk about people, and so when we started this journey here, and the staff had the opportunity to move to Davidson, Austin was not a part of our staff. I coached him and recruited him at Washington Lee University, where he played for me in this system. He was at Jacksonville, who was in the league at the time, coaching at Jacksonville. And so he was one of my early calls, offered him the opportunity to join us up here. I'm really grateful. He said yes to that. He's a high character coach. He works really hard at his craft, and he loves it. All right? And that's what you're looking for, right? You're looking for staff members who are just great people, who love what they do, and will love the kids, the players, and the people around them daily. And Austin does a great job with that. He brings a lot of knowledge. And the fact that he played in this system and he's coaching a position that he played in, over 10 years ago, is really important for me as an offensive coordinator to be able to lean on someone in that role that has gone through this, not just as a player, but now as a coach.
And who will be featured this week will be offensive line coach Vince Munch, who was also on your staff at WNL, actually served on the staff at St. Andrews prior to reuniting you with Davidson. What do you have to say about Coach Munch?
Well, Coach is really my right-hand man offensively, right? He's, came to work with us at Washington Lee pretty soon right after he graduated Ferrum, stayed with us for 5 years in a really restricted earnings role, couldn't stay any longer. Took the OC job and offensive line job at St. Andrews when they started their program for a year, and then we got hired here, and he immediately jumped back with us. We were really grateful. And having an offensive line coach who's grown up coaching in your system and understands it the way he does, understands all the little nuances of our offense, right? Understands where we can go before we need to go there, right? It's really important for us, and it's important for me as the offense coordinator, because my hats, I put them on in different roles, right? And so, having an experienced offensive staff that understands that understands the offense the way we do, right? And you've mentioned two of them today. It's really important because as a head coach, I get pulled in different directions. So those guys probably they don't get the due they deserve. My offensive staff, we get a lot of accolades as an offense, and our unit gets talked about quite frequently nationally, and probably the assistant coaches here offensively do not get mentioned as they should. They do an amazing job, and I'm just really grateful for them.
Well, I'm glad we can give them their due with our Inside the Locker Room feature. You can stay tuned for that later this week on the official Twitter of Davidson Football, @DavidsonFB. Vince Munch will be featured, the offensive run game coordinator and offensive line coach. Now focusing on to PFL play, which starts on Saturday against Presbyterian. The team got a 70-35 win over the Blue Hose last year, although be a markedly different team again. This is their third coach as many seasons. Steve Englehart takes over after a very successful stint at Florida Tech, led them to 2 playoff appearances. But again, this is a Blue Hose team that will learn a new system. What should we expect from the Blue Hose this weekend?
Well, you're going to see a much improved football team from last year. You know, I think they've done a fabulous job of transitioning, right? I think it's hard, but in their case, as someone who went through a transition when the program was sitting, you know, at the bottom as they were when they got hired, as we were when we got hired. Sometimes that transition goes a little smoother, right? Because everyone's open to change, and they've done a tremendous job. Their coaching staff, they're coached extremely well. I think they have schemes that fit their athletes. I think they're young, right? And that's what they're going through right now, right? They're young, and you see them on film, and man, they look like a team that should contend for a PFL championship at times. And then you'll see some youthfulness show up. And so they grow each week. They get better each week. I think they are an incredibly dangerous team. And I think we need to play our best football Saturday, right? I think we have to show up and be at our very best, understand the dogfight we're going to be in. If not, right, you know, we're going to be disappointed. And so our folks this week will work hard, understand the challenge that's ahead of us. And that challenge is Presbyterian, and you know, their program with a chip on their shoulder, right? They joined our league, coming from a scholarship world, made a coaching change when that happened. That did not go well, right? So they didn't win a game in our league last year, and I know they feel like they're much better than that. And I would 1,000% agree with anybody who thinks that. They are a much better program than that, and I think this new staff has them pointing in the right direction, and that could be a problem for our PFL.
It very well could be. It should be an exciting game on Saturday for the Carolina Border Clash defending the 1919 Cup. Coach, have a great week of practice. We'll see you on Saturday.
Thanks, Paul.
He is head coach Scott Abel. My name is Paul Roper. Mike Frasina will join me for our radio broadcast at 6:30 on the Davidson Sports Network from Learfield. You can also listen on the Varsity app or online at 1350WHIP.com. Have a good week, everybody. This has been Coach's Corner presented by Atrium Health.